We will be starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening from United Arab Emirates, Dubai. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the first September Bests virtual women panel of Prodigy Bureau Global Women Speakers in collaboration with the Ladies of All Nations International UK under the platform of the International Sisterhood of Strength. I am Charmaine Uychoco. I am the managing partner and the chief operations officer of Prodigy Bureau, an event and talent management company based in UAE. And we are the organizer of the Global Women Empowerment Summit and the founder of the Prodigy Bureau Global Women Speakers. Together with me, organizing this fabulous webinar is Dr. Caroline Makaka of the Ladies of All Nations International founder based in the UK. Dr. Caroline, can you please say hi before we proceed?
Yes, hi everyone. I'm just managing everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, I would like to thank each and every one of you for accepting our invitation to be one of our panelists to this very important webinar, Women in Law. The women's rights are human rights. And we hope that we'll be empowering and inspiring women all over the world who will be joining us tonight. And we will be very excited. We are very excited to share your story and your journey towards this profession. Before I will start and we will proceed introducing our amazing host for tonight, I would like you to know what is Prodigy Bureau Global Women Speakers. Prodigy Bureau, or we call it PBGLOS, is under the umbrella of Prodigy Bureau, which manages women speakers and responsible in organizing women events. And one of that event is the Global Women Empowerment Summit that is happening in Dubai this November, 18, 19, 20, and 21, 4 days event. And hopefully next year we will be moving in the Philippines and 2022 in Bhutan. And we are the women who are trailblazers, game changers, and movers. Women who aims to empower other women globally, give hope to hopeless, and encouragement to distressed. A group who embodies oneness, equality, solidarity, and integrity. Whoever of you wants to be our speaker for the next year in the Women's Summit in the Philippines, please let me know. And now for LOWANI. Ladies of All Nations International is a non-profit event organization brought to life by innovative partnership between women of all backgrounds and cultures who have a shared vision of driving better change in today's global communities. LOWANI operates worldwide, chiefly to bring nations together under the umbrella of humanity, with the ultimate goal being to support and uplift the underprivileged and in our various communities. So that's the mission and vision of these two groups who is organizing this event. And without further ado, I would like to introduce to you our amazing host for tonight. Our amazing host for tonight is my colleague in Toastmasters International. She's still very active, but I am already inactive. She is a seasoned speaker, an affable personality, versatile and vibrant individual, I can say. Founder of People's Voice Instagram live chat show. So if you wanna join her live chat show in Instagram, you can contact her. And she's a blogger, writes at Life is Beautiful, Beautiful blog, an avid reader, book and movie reviewer, public relations and marketing specialist, digital marketer, and aspiring writer. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our amazing host for tonight, Naseema Khan.
Thank you, Charmaine, for that lovely introduction and for giving me the opportunity to be an MC for an event which is going to be an enthralling event for all of us. Thank you very much. Women must not accept. She must challenge. She must not be awed by which has been built around her. She must reverence that women in her with struggles for expression. Women empowerment is intertwined with respect for human rights. Empowerment includes the action of raising the status of women through education, raising awareness, literacy training, and webinar. Webinar like today. Today's webinar is brought to you by Prodigy Bureau Global Women Speakers UAE in collaboration with Ladies of All Nations International UK under the International Sisterhood of Strength platform. Today's event is embracing the fact that women's rights are human rights. It aims to help and empower women to pursue what is rightly for them, addresses and offer a basic understanding for the human rights of women as whole. These women today, which we are going to see, with their expertise, personal journey, coupled with professional success and inspiring works, will help us to empower and to enlighten all the women, and rightly so, the men too. So I wish all our speakers all the very best. And just for your information, this session will be recorded and replayed in Facebook. And regarding the session, how it will go, let me just quickly brief. The first speaker will come and speak for 5 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes. Then there will be a one question from my end, and it will be continued till the last 7th speaker. And then towards the end, we will have a panel discussion, Q&A, where the speakers will answer according to the audience question. This is the format of today's webinar. Any question, you can stop me in between and you can raise any question if you want right now. And as I can see, there is no question, no queries. So let us begin the very, I hope, and it will be enthusiastic session for all of us. Fascinating. I am waiting for it eagerly to hear all the powerful lady lawyers. So let's start with the very first speaker. She is Thulasy Suppiah. She is LLB graduate from University of London, barrister at law, 2013 advocate and solicitor, Malaysian Bar 2014, current practice focus in commercial and construction disputes, former treasurer, office bearer of the Association of Women Lawyers, currently a member of the Gender Equality and Diversity Committee, Kuala Lumpur Bar Committee, founder of an online platform and safe space for discussion of issues, challenges faced by Indian women. With that, I welcome our very first speaker, Thulasy Suppiah.
Right, thank you, Naseema. That was a pretty illustrious sort of start, but I'm a little nervous because I'm supposed to be the first one starting this off. So I'm glad that you guys have provided, or rather you ladies have provided a pretty good guide for me to start my introduction with. My name is Thulasy Suppiah. I am a Malaysian litigator based in Kuala Lumpur. I did not start out as a lawyer. I had first graduated with a degree in computer engineering, actually, and I was working in an infotech company for about 5 years before I heard the calling of the law. In fact, it was always an equal split between studying engineering because I entertained this sci-fi fantasy of being a robotics engineer, save that I perhaps was not quite cut out for that sort of future. And so I decided to switch careers at some point when I realized that the law may really be my strong suit and something I could excel in. And that was when I decided to read law and then subsequently, decided to pursue a career as a litigator. I think one of the most challenging parts of this profession, and I speak, of course, with the benefit of having worked in a very different industry before I became a lawyer, I find the most challenging part of my work is having that breadth and depth of knowledge required to address my clients' grievances. You know, when you're doing commercial and construction disputes, they expect you to be quite experienced and they expect answers with a very short, within a very short time period. And achieving that balance without compromising on the quality of the legal advice you provide your clients or the service has been my biggest challenge in this line of work. I think as a woman, it's interesting that we're in 2020. One of the toughest part of being a woman, the fact that I even have to think about my gender, in this profession, has been the prevailing latent sexism that continues to permeate the legal profession, especially here in Malaysia, I would say. The assumption that, for example, if you're a woman lawyer, you are perhaps not as suited for litigation. That's a man's field. Or if you were to lend your voice or support for female empowerment or women's rights causes, which I am a strong proponent of, and I advocate for certain issues. And I have been written off by my former male bosses, for instance, because it was not possible in his eyes or in his view for me to be a serious construction litigation lawyer, because my primary interest appears to be in women's rights. So the view it continues to be, in fact, that as a woman, if you're a woman who advocates for women's rights, you should naturally only practice in areas such as human rights or family law. And that, unfortunately, is still a prevailing view in Malaysia. What have I contributed to my company, during the pandemic? I think continuing to work and motivating my juniors to continue to do the same. Advice I could give women when it comes to pursuing their rights: to not let the naysayers deter you. I know from firsthand experiences that it can be very disheartening and disempowering to constantly face opposition to sometimes what you consider to be very basic principles and ideas. So in Malaysia, it is not unusual to encounter men who invalidate the idea that there is a gender pay wage gap, or that you have to convince a man that there should be anti-sexual harassment policies or legislation in place. And this is even from within the legal community. You would expect other male lawyers to be a little more progressive, and you'd be surprised actually. So to women facing problems like this, I'd say, seek out your tribe, or build and surround yourself with a tribe of strong, independent women who will hold you up and support what you stand for, and continue to sort of inspire and motivate you so that you are not deterred from pursuing your rights. I hope that was a decent introduction. I'm not sure if I hit the 5-minute limit, but yeah. Thank you, Naseema.
Thank you, Thulasy, for that insight about your professional life. I didn't know anything about law field, but I feel something I got to know through you. So thank you so much for that short but very informative introduction. Uh, Tulasi, I have a question from your speech that you said you were switching your career, and if in previous industry it was completely different from the current one. So, what quality helped you to cope up with the challenges in this industry when you were switching from one completely different industry to the current one? What was the one quality, if you want to share with us?
I think, and this is something I value, with a background in engineering, picking up more technical aspects of the law was, I wouldn't go so far as to say it's easy, but I wasn't afraid to get involved in construction disputes, for instance, or engineering procurement types of contracts. These things didn't scare me because I welcome the challenge, if anything. So that was something I could easily, I imported certain analytical skills that I picked up, during my engineering days, and then subsequently as a solutions consultant when I was in Infotech. So that was it was a very useful skill. Yeah.
Thank you,
I hope that
Tulasi.
answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. Picking up any skills that will definitely help us no matter where we go. If you are good in learning, grasping thing, I'm sure it will help us in any field. Thank you so much for that answer, Tulasi. With that, we are moving on to our second speaker. She is Taslima Tanvira. a fabulous and vibrant lady. From the country that's renowned for Royal Bengal tigers, I'm sure you all must have guessed the country is Bangladesh. Our next speaker is a powerful tigress, currently working as an advocate of Bangladesh Supreme Court. Please welcome Taslim Tanveera. Taslima?
I think she might be having network problems, but we can move on to the next speaker, but she's coming.
Okay. All right. Until Taslima comes back, we will move on to our third speaker, Dr. Regina Wiliams-Rehkamp. Sorry for that pronunciation, Rehkamp. Dr. Regina Wiliams-Rehkamp, founder of Rehkamp Group, trainer on employment and collection law, entrepreneur, public speaker for more than 30 years, and life master coach. She is also the founder of Laser Focus Marketing Concept. With that, please welcome Dr. Regina.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. It's an honor. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. My name is Dr. Regina Wiliams-Rehkamp, and thank you for that awesome introduction. A little bit about myself. I'm an entrepreneur now, but previously I spent 30 years in media. I actually had parallel careers while I was in media. My first degree is in accounting, so I ran my accountancy parallel to my media career. And so when I left corporate America in 2016, I started working for myself full time. And so I have the accountancy firm that I'm currently still running, but I also travel the country as an entrepreneur trainer. And I'm contracted by companies like Federal Express, Blue Cross Blue Shield, the US government, and different clients. And I teach in the areas of business law, leadership, some media, sexual harassment. I'm certified to teach in about 35 different topics. And of course, they're very passionate about the legal arena because there's a huge gap there when it comes to women instructing or training anyone when it comes to law. I'm not an attorney, but my husband is a retired judge that practiced law, and it was on the bench on a total legal career of about 40 years. I also have a daughter that is an attorney. So as you can see, I study law because I have to study it to teach it, so I'm well versed in it. But I like to tell people I have my own built-in legal library living with me between those two. But I'm honored to be here. But as a corporate trainer, one of the things I find that when I go into a room with certain topics, sometimes I am the only woman. Sometimes I'm in a minority as a woman in certain settings. But it's good because it gets to show. I think that when we're challenged, it helps us to keep our crafts sharpened. We have to stay on top of our game because we always have to, work harder, study harder, produce harder, which leads me into the question that you said, what is the most challenging in my career, in my business? And it is that I have to be better than any male counterpart that would be in my setting. And if it's not, then it would be noted that it wasn't. So it's good because I'm a studier by nature. I'm an investigative personality by nature. So I like challenges like that. It doesn't bother me. So that's the toughest part. Also, what has been my contribution to society and organization during the pandemic is that I do a lot of work with nonprofits. I have a nonprofit myself, and I do a lot with the community as far as disparities with education. Me and my husband are both proponents of education. We have a nonprofit that we're forming called the Doctor and the Judge. And that is going to take the legal side, which will be what my husband will deal with mainly. And I'm going to do the financial literacy and also people skills, life skills, how to get jobs and those type things. So during the pandemic, I've been working on that, and I've been actually doing some of those things. Another part of that is helping people that have been incarcerated coming back into society and becoming productive citizens. And that's something that is very, very dear to my heart, because I've known quite a few people that have been whistleblowers in the US. I'm from the United States. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that, in the US. And they have been a victim of the system because the whistleblower sometimes ends up being the person that gets in trouble. So I've helped several people that come out into community, provide opportunities for them to work, provide opportunities for them to do work with nonprofits to get their community hours and so forth and so on. And during the pandemic, it's I've been really glad to be able to help them, because not only that, I've been able to help financially and sometimes help with them with some things that they might need because they're not working. It's hard for them to work. And so I consider that to be a huge, huge blessing. And in finale, the most important advice that I would give to women when pursuing their rights is that no one can take our voice away. You know, sometimes as a life coach, which is something that I forgot to mention, I coach women all the time that feel like they're inadequate. I coach some very successful women that feel like in their voice, I'm not worthy. You know, why am I? As a matter of fact, I have a client and she works very well, very successful, makes a lot of money. And for the first 15 minutes of our call every week, I had to tell her, she had to affirm, I am worthy. She's like, I don't feel like I should be making all this money. I'm like, why? I said, ask any man in your organization, does he think he should be making that money? He'll be like, I'm not making enough. But again, it's how society has made, portrayed, you are not worthy. You should feel guilty that you're making so much money and some of these other people, ladies, are not making as much money. I told her, I said, except you are able and you are competent enough to get it, you wouldn't. And so we're working through that, but it's wide span. And I think that it's very, very important that we understand that we as humans, we all have rights. It doesn't matter, our gender should not dictate that, even though it still does, but the fight is real, and the fight definitely should go on, because those that function without a voice are those that are defeated without their voice being heard. So I hope that introduction was I hope that I covered all the points. I had my document up, and I was just trying to make sure that I covered everything that was given to me as a talking point. And again, thank you for the opportunity. And I'm going to turn it back over to the host.
Thank you, Dr. Regina, for that lovely introduction. I felt that it was not only your introduction, but half of your speech was a motivational speech for many of us. At least I felt that. Dr. Regina, you were talking about that how women always have to work harder, produce more than our counterpart men.
Yes.
So isn't it annoying sometimes? And when we go into that state, how we deal with it, whether we completely ignore or how you react to that situation where we always have to do a one step extra than men?
Well, the way that I handle that is I wow them. I come in ultra prepared, and that's what most don't expect. And I come in unintimidated, and so when I look at the coaching strategies, many times what happens is when people can detect, the adversary can detect someone that is afraid. They can detect fear. They can detect someone feeling inadequate. So the way that I counter that is that I put my strength forward, and I'm prepared, because they will also pick on your weaknesses if you're not prepared. And
Absolutely.
so it's like going into a lion's den. You don't want to be dinner, so you need to be always be on the offense.
Mhm.
Be prepared for whatever's going to come. And so
Mhm.
I like the challenge. I think
Uh-huh.
it's very, very much needed.
Rightly said, Dr. Regina. Accept the challenge and go prepared. Why go prepared? Go extra prepared so
Yes.
that even if you have to work harder, you are ready for that. Thank you so much, Dr. Regina, for that introduction and the lovely motivational speech.
Thank you.
With that, we are moving on to our next speaker, Alice Macris. She is corporate and commercial lawyer, former legal counsel of Natixis, one of France's largest bank, co-leader Lean in Circle Dubai, Network for Women Professional, co-organizer of TEDx Al Wasl Women Dubai. Please welcome Alice Macris.
Thank you. Thank you, Naseema. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
First, I'd just like to say that I'm really grateful to have been invited today and to be able to discuss these topics with such an interesting group of women. It's really good to hear the different experiences that people have, especially because we're all from different countries. So I think that the pandemic has helped in the sense that we may not have even met had this not happened. So my background is in banking and finance. I trained at a firm called Clifford Chance, which is a large firm in London, and they primarily have clients that are in the banking sector. So my experience is predominantly working with banks. I then moved from London to Dubai, where I worked for Natixis, as Naseema said, and my role was legal counsel, sort of dealing with all the banking transactions, the everyday contracts that happened in the office, a sort of mixed variety of work. So I sort of class myself as a corporate, commercial and banking lawyer. In the last year and a half, I have been working for myself, and I now work with a variety of different clients, which is very different but really interesting. My work has changed a lot in the sense that I don't just work in the banking sector now. I work for startups, I work with some tech clients, I work with some venture capital clients, I work with lots of software companies. So it's a really mixed variety of clients that I work with, and they are spread all over the world, but predominantly in London and in the UAE. So that's sort of my introduction. I'll just look at the questions that they gave us. So I'd say the most challenging part of my career is actually similar to what Thulasy said. She mentioned that it is quite difficult to maintain a high standard of work when you're working with so many different types of clients and everybody expects you to provide a high level of service all the time. I think that the problem with lawyers is that people expect that we are experts in everything. So quite often you'll face situations where a client will ask you 5 or 6 different questions in a row. Maybe you'll know the answer to 3 of them off the top of your head, but the other 2 might require a specialist lawyer to come in and have a look at the situation from their perspective. So it's very similar to being a doctor in that sense, because we each have our individual specialities in the way that my experiences in banking, Thulas's experiences in litigation, you know, we work on different areas. So I think that's the most challenging part, especially when you work with your own clients, because generally they may not have a lot of experience dealing with lawyers. So the less sophisticated clients in that perspective can sometimes expect you to answer everything, and that can be quite difficult. I think the toughest part of being a woman in law, I mean, I'm quite lucky because I'm from the UK, so I'd say in the UK we have, of most of the developed nations, we have quite a good system when it comes to women working in general. Especially in the legal industry, we have a lot of female lawyers at the junior stage. The problem is that that doesn't actually translate to senior roles. So there's usually a drop-off point when women reach the age of sort of 35, where we see that the senior roles predominantly are taken by men. And there are a variety of reasons for that, but one of them, I think, is that the legal industry was not really built for women to work in. Having said that, I think it's important to not negate the progress that's being made in the UK, and specifically the input of men as well. Most men, I'd say, in the UK are pretty much on board with the concept of women having equal rights in the workplace and having the same opportunities. So I think it's important not to have too much of a victim mindset in the UK, because we are making progress, and we have to realize that 50 years ago things were very different. So in the last 50 years things have changed a lot. I think that, so the toughest part probably, I think, is just making sure that the progress that we make doesn't go unnoticed, and I guess trying to affect a more global change, because the situation in places like Dubai is obviously very different, and I'm aware that in other countries it is very, very tough, specifically for women in the legal profession, because it's so male dominated. So I think it's important for women in the UK to realize that although we have it a little bit better here, it's still not the same everywhere else. And it's important to do things like this panel discussion to make sure that people realize that. I think my advice to women would be, I think, just be aware of the rights that you have in whatever jurisdiction you're operating in, and socialize and network with other women who are in the same position. I run a group called Lean In, which is a professional women's networking group, and the support that women give to each other is really fantastic, especially when you're in a country where you might not know anyone or you're an expat. So I think just socializing with other women, getting support, having friends is really, really important, and not to be, not to be shy about your rights, because I think that women in the UK are confident about the rights they have, and I wish that that mentality was actually global. Unfortunately it's not, but we are getting there. Yeah, sorry, I hope I didn't go on for too long.
No, you are not long at all. I was into your speech. Listening to you all, I'm getting to know a lot about people, especially in law field. Alisa, I don't have any particular question related to your field, but you can answer me yes, no, or if you want to elaborate. I heard a lot about pay disparity because of the gender in all the corporate world. Does it exist even in law field?
I think it does exist. Now in the UK we have, there are initiatives and there's legislation in place which means that companies of a specific size have to actually publish the figures relating to pay between the two genders. However, what we've seen in the UK is that above a certain limit, those figures are not really published. So I think the pay disparity in the UK isn't just because women and men are actually being paid differently for the same role. It's more because women sometimes take time out of work, they might have kids, they might have other commitments. And so when they get to the same age as a man in the same career, they might find that due to the time they've taken out and the fact that they haven't been able to fully commit to the job, or they're perceived to not have fully committed to the job as much as a man, I think for that reason there is a pay discrepancy. The problem is that, again, a lot of the figures are not published, but I think that globally, and particularly in Europe, I think the UK is doing probably one of the best, but the pay disparity certainly is because women take time out from work. And again, as I mentioned before, the legal industry wasn't really built for women to work and to have kids and to work at the same time. So once that changes, hopefully we'll see that translate into a better and more equal pay for women and men in senior levels.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Elise, for that answer. And it looks like that pay disparity is justifiable in UK for the reason you said.
Well, I wouldn't say it's justifiable, but I think that is probably one of the causes of it. Whether it's justifiable or not is a different question, but I think that it's because the infrastructure of the system here can make it difficult for women to commit the same amount of time as men.
All right, thank you so much, Elise Macris, for your answer. With that, we are moving on to our next speaker. She is Chinyere Michael-Esse. Correct me if I'm wrong, because Chinyere Michael-Esse, prosecutor at Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corporation, called to the Nigeria Bar in 2006. She practiced law in a couple of firms, an advocate for child and women's rights, and have undergone some training on GBV, visa the role of security agents. She also had a short stint at the Lagos Multi-Door Court House, which is an alternative dispute resolution method. With that, please welcome Michael-Esse.
Hi, good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Your voice is a bit low. Can you speak up?
Can you hear me? Good evening.
Yes, we can, but
Hello,
you need to speak up a bit.
Okay, good evening. My name is Chinyere and I'm glad to be here. It's a pleasure to be in the midst of well-read and exposed female lawyers. And I would like to share a little bit of my experience, just as I've been asked and directed to do so. So I will start. Did I choose to be a lawyer from the beginning? No, I didn't start out to be a lawyer. I had my eyes on journalism. I had my eyes on being in the media. But along the line, it changed because I found out that the school of my choice, where I had to do a degree, a college degree, didn't have to offer any course that time on journalism. So I had to switch to law. Of course, I did this grudgingly for the number of years I had to be there. But along the line, I picked interest in it and I found it to be very interesting. So I continued after my call to bar in 2006. I had to practice as an attorney advocate in different law firms here in the city of Lagos and Nigeria. And it gave me a glimpse into what it is actually to be a lawyer. You know, here in Nigeria, I'll bring it down to my country. There's a lot of respect and fear, if I may say, attached to being a female lawyer. They tend to see you as someone that is so outspoken, someone that will find it difficult to build a home under a man, in quotes, because you're a lawyer. But I also found pride in it because I found a channel and the way my opinions on certain issues. So I practiced here and there in different law firms until I ended up working with the federal government of Nigeria as an employee under one of the security agencies called the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. And what my work here as a lawyer is to prosecute offenders who have been found to violate or rather to tamper or steal or just sabotage critical national infrastructures. Like, you know how we have in Nigeria, we have a lot of, we have oil here. And one of the main things that this bunkers or this bad people, let me use that word, is usually to tamper with these critical national assets. So when these people are arrested either by the naval police and or they are brought to my office and we take them to court and do the right thing by them. Now, what is the toughest part of doing this job as a lawyer? To start with, being a prosecutor means you're actually seen as a stooge of the federal government. You're working for the federal government, you're against the bad guys, and it doesn't really go down well, especially when in a country like mine, where we solely and largely depend on oil. There's a lot of oil theft, a lot of bunkering, a lot of stealing, and then we are seen as those bad people. I do not want them to eat out of the national cake. But do we let you go about this in the wrong way? No. It's actually very tough here and trying to do the right thing, to overlook being bribed, to overlook tainting your image, the monies that they might throw at you and do the right thing. That is one things I would say would be very tough practicing in my field as a lawyer in Nigeria. Then being a woman involved in law, like I said earlier on, there is this thing about the African woman having to be very submissive. And that being submissive means your voice must not be heard. but Nigeria has placed us in that niche of those ladies that are kind of wild, those ladies that must speak up. And it has given us a little bit of, I don't know how to put it, but it didn't really start off very well for women in that way. But today I can say that we have as many women as there are men in the law profession. And when you're working as a private lawyer, the average Nigerian or the average man would rather hire a male attorney over a female one for reasons best known to them. That is one of the challenges that we have had. And in the course of my work as a security agent, I've come in contact with a lot of gender-based violence, which led me to have a little bit of courses here and there regarding gender-based violence. I've had some trainings with the Nigerian police and some other security agents as it has to do with protection of the girl and the female child in Nigeria. And the most important thing when it comes to the fighting of for women to fight for their rights, I will keep saying, do not close your mouth to it. In Africa, in Nigeria, in Africa generally, when it has to do with a woman's rights, they think it is hinged upon the right of a man, and it is not so. What we preach as female lawyers in Nigeria is to have a voice. That is why we have formed a whole lot of female-based law advocates, like we have the FIDA, female lawyers in Nigeria. Through those advocates can make your voice heard. So that's just a summary of my foray into the legal profession in Nigeria. I hope I stop nicely. Back to the host. Thank you very much.
Yes, definitely you spoke nicely, informatively, and we got to know about Nigeria, Africa, their work environment, about men, women. Chinyere, first, before I ask you a question, I would like to know how you pronounce your name. Chinyere, right?
Okay, my name is Chinyere.
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 Chinyere, yes. It's from the Igbo origin of Nigeria, yes. Chinyere.
Chinyere. Chinyere, you were saying
Yes.
your eyes were on journalism, media, and then you got into law. What was going in your mind? What made you think to switch your field from journalism, media to law? What was that one thing, if you can share with us?
Okay, the main thing why I switched, and that is the truth, was when I got to a college to study, I had my eyes set on journalism. But as at that year, the college that I had my eyes on wasn't yet accredited to offer journalism and media. So in order not to lose a year staying back at home, the nearest course that was available for me was to go into law. And that was how I ended up in the law classroom. It was never my intention. But after 1-2 years, I picked interest and I continued.
Thank you so much, Chinyere, for sharing with us your interest, how your just incident of because of non-availability of other course, you switched to law, and now it has become your interest, passion,
Yes.
and you're enjoying your profession thoroughly. Thank you for sharing the insight about your personal and professional
Thank
life.
you.
Moving on to our next speaker, Shalini Bhargava. Shalini is the founder of Ashford's Law and a senior solicitor. She is a member of the Law Society of England and Wales. Shalini has more than 18 years of experience in private UK immigration law. She also has experience in criminal and family law. She was named in the Asians Who's of Who's 2011 in the UK. She also offers legal advices, guidance, support, and legal issues to underprivileged communities and charities. With that, please welcome Shalini Bhargava.
Thank you, Naseema, for such a wonderful introduction. So I'm Shalini. I'm the senior solicitor and founder at Ashford's Law. We are based in London. So my firm does a variety of, mixed variety of work from UK immigration. We deal with corporate and individual immigration. So we've got clients across the world. So we help businesses to set up their branch offices in the UK, or people who want to come and invest and establish themselves in the UK. We also deal with individual immigration, for example, people who want to come to the UK to study here and then eventually then work in this country, or maybe people getting married, bringing their spouses from across the world. So immigration work is really varied. It involves a bit of family work, you're making people happy, they want to migrate, so it's a bit of involvement in people's families and make it really fulfilling and satisfying and very rewarding. So firm also does family law. We deal with divorce matters. We help with children contact, financial relief remedies relating to family law, and also litigation, landlord, and the standard high street work as well. Now, the way I fell into becoming a lawyer, it was not by choice or that I had the interest. I'm actually originally from India, and I came to the UK almost 30 years ago. And it was just by chance that I fell into the legal field, and the interest developed to study law and to help women, because I myself had to go through a divorce at a very young age. And this, I'm talking about early 90s. And at that point of time, my solicitor used to say to me that I was very fortunate that I could speak English, and also that I had a very supporting family who had welcomed me back, even though going through a divorce, being a young Asian woman. And that actually intrigues me a lot, because coming from a very protected family, I was not exposed to this concept. I was brought up that there was no discrimination between a boy and a girl. I have a younger brother, so we had been given the same opportunities, the full freedom to choose what we wanted to be, and for example, what to wear, what to pursue. So that's what got my interest in law, and I thought, this is what I'm going to study. I want to help women. I want to help Asian women who are coming into this country, who cannot speak the language, or probably not educated, and also especially where the families were not happy to support their daughters if they were going through a rough patch after marriage. So that's when I studied law. It took me 6 years, and I studied as a mature student. So that was, I think, another drawback. So being a woman, being Asian, and being a mature student. So these were the three main challenges, and being a single parent as well. I qualified, I was then in employment, and then I set up my own firm about 9 years ago. And I think the ethos that I have managed to put in Ashford's Law is a very holistic view. It's not just about the legal work. You have to take a holistic view of your client and give not just the legal advice. Very often I find that I'm doing more of counseling than of legal advice. So that has been quite an enlightening angle of delivering your legal services, where the need in the community is for a lot of counseling and that emotional support, which perhaps they are not getting from their families. So we do a lot of charity work as well. So we try and do at least one monthly legal surgery on a weekend, where we give free legal advice, and we raise some money, and we do donate the money to a nominated charity. So that's our little way of contributing to the society. During the pandemic, what we did was, well, all the legal system, the tribunals, the courts, everything was in total lockdown. But it was more, again, of managing clients' expectations. People were anxious. A lot of men and women were calling because their relationships was going through a difficult time. So it was more of listening to them and helping them through this difficult period of time. And it was more sort of venting out their feelings and just to help them buy through this difficult time of lockdown. Like I said, I think this part of being in the legal industry, where you are helping people with the legal aspect of things, but then also taking the holistic view of giving them a bit of emotional support, and plus you have to wear a business hat as well. So it's three things that all go in together, which makes it again very fulfilling and rewarding. The most challenging thing that perhaps I've found in the field is, from a business point of view, to really work hard as a woman, as an Asian woman, to convince people that you can do the job as good as any other man as well in the field. The other thing I would say is a bit challenging when you have to go and do your marketing, or you have to go for business meetings, or where men could easily perhaps go to the pub in the evening for a pint of beer to discuss business, whereas a woman would find it a bit challenging and be careful as to where you draw the line before giving the wrong impression. So I personally found that a bit challenging, that it probably was restricting me to achieve much more than I could have done if I was a man. So if anyone, any woman, I think the challenges are there. There's a lot of work being done, being sitting in the UK. Things are very progressive. It's very broad-minded, the society. However, we still have, for example, the Equality Act 2010 in place because there is no equality of pay. So there's a lot of work still needs to be done, but anyone who wants to be whatever they want to be is to have faith in yourself. I think keeping your dignity, your integrity, and your hard work, it'll always do wonders.
Thank you so much, Shalini, for sharing that interesting journey with all of us. I felt that you should just go on, and at least I wanted to listen more and more. And I jotted down so many questions, but because of time constraint, I won't be able to ask that many. But one question which is related to your entrepreneur journey, not the journey, the beginning. I believe you have studied for 6 years law, and after that you have practiced as well, if I'm not wrong. Then
Yes.
which was that moment when you thought, no, I have to start my firm, I want to be entrepreneur because I do have all that skills now? What was that moment when you realized that I have to have my own something?
I think when, Naseema, that's a really good question actually, because I've never had plans to have my own business. When I worked hard, because as a mature student, I was almost 30 years old when I was competing with 24-year-olds for a job. And I did eventually find a job where I thought, this is it for me for lifetime, I'll be comfortable. I was a single parent. But it was just the vision that I had, the approach that I had to my work, and the commitment I had. It was just that my clients and I felt that, yes, I can achieve so much more. And it was just destiny, perhaps, that I just fell into some good opportunities. And I thought, I can do it. But at that point of time, the economy wasn't doing very well, and I was told that, are you sure you want to set up your own firm? Where there were a lot of sole practitioner firms closing down at the time, and there I was thinking of setting up a firm. And I had, at that time, I had met Baroness Varma, and she was at a networking event. She asked me what I was doing, and she mentioned me in a speech that here I am trying to set up a firm, and I still do keep in touch with her, giving an update as to how the business is doing. So yes, it's been quite a journey. Thank you for jogging those memories.
Thank you so much for answering my question. With that, before we call upon our last speaker, we have one more speaker to go. Alona Tohar Cohen, legal counsel at Israel Khaled Health Services, human rights advocate, graduated from the University of Manchester with a Bachelor of Laws, with specialization on criminal law and evidences. After school, she served in the Israel Army in a combat unit. She also has a diploma on journalism and media and MPH degree in public health and emergency and disaster management. With that, please welcome Alona Tohar Cohen.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
It's nice to meet you. And first of all, it's a real happy thing for me to participate in this panel because, as you know, 2 days ago, we had a peace agreement with Dubai and the United Arab Emirates. So it's a very happy thing for us. And we hope that we will have more peace agreements with other countries. Okay, so I start my my law degree and my profession in law 20 years ago. And after I finished my law degree, I practiced in criminal law. And after that, I also went to study journalism. And after that, I did my disaster and emergency management degree. And now I'm working as the legal consul of Clalit Health Service. This is the biggest health service organization in Israel. And we give health service for more than half of the Israel population. And why I choose to be a lawyer, it's something that I think it is from my childhood when I was like playing with all the children. Usually when they were problems, I'm the one who has the sense of justice, and I was the one who tried all the time to make peace between all the children and to make compromise and to solve the problems with talks. So I think this is something that, you know, reminds after so many years, and also now this is why I am a lawyer. And what is the challenging part of my work and career is that I'm working in a health organization. Most of the people or the high position people are men. So usually when I am going to meetings and in the headquarters in Tel Aviv, you know, you have to be really strong and to have your claims and to you know, to tell your claims very sharp way, because if not, they think that you are not serious, and you know, they might say, okay, we will not take your advice. So I have to be ready all the time, and you know, all the time to be ready for attacks. So I have to give all the time answers. And this is the most challenging thing in my work. And also it's challenging because I am working and actually responsible for the north region of Israel. And I have to give all the time, you know, to work all the time, many hours, because also now in the COVID-19, we have, you know, many cases. And as a health organization, I need to give, like, you know, supplement and to hire doctors and nurses and all the time, because, you know, when things get worse, you must, you know, give solutions. And that's why it's, you know, very challenging now. And now I'm working even more hours than before. What about the toughest part of being woman involved in law? Like I've said, if you are involved in huge projects or dealing with high position people, usually they are men. So when you are going to, like, even in court, if you go to court and you know, the judge is a man and the other lawyer is a man, usually they see you, if you are young, then you are probably not professional, or maybe you are, you know, too nice. So it will be, you will be very easy to negotiate or, you know, to win you in the case. And then what I'm doing is usually that I'm very polite and I'm very nice, but I'm also very serious about my work and very sharp-minded. So after they see that I'm, I'm serious, they changing their attitude, and they start to see only the profession thing. What else? My contribution to the organization on the pandemic. Well, I think that now I'm working more because I have to do a lot of contracts, a lot of tenders, to hire a lot of doctors, and to be ready for, when things get worse. So this is what I'm doing in my organization, and as in my society, I'm volunteering in a team of, we have like an emergency team, and we're doing that in my livelihood. So people are, people who are sick with COVID-19, so we are trying to help them to get medical treatments, to get food, to get shopping, all those things. And this is what we do voluntarily. And what is my advice for women? My first advice is not to be afraid. I mean, if you think that somebody is taking your rights, then don't be afraid to say, or, to share it with someone. And I think that if you share those things with other people, now you can do it in the media because it's more easy. When you share those things with other people, the garbage will come out. And when the garbage is coming out, you can make, I think, maybe all the world to help you. And for example, you can see the Me Too movement, what one sentence did all over the world. And I also think that a woman needs to be educated, and I think that she also needs to take care of herself and to be really strong, because strong women and also strong women in high position can really help for women's rights, and to change all the view about women's rights. So this is my advice.
Thank you, Alona, Tohar, for that introduction. And also, even we are in Kuwait happy about Israel peace treaty, which was signed last week. And we really hope more and more such treaties signed by worldwide countries for all the unrest countries, hopefully.
Hopefully, right.
Alona, you were talking about, I remember in the beginning you were saying when you walk in, the house was full of men. And you, or normally any girl, gets scared of seeing so many men. I don't understand, perhaps even in my early age, when I was new in corporate, I must have also felt that. I don't understand why we as a women think that men are stronger than us. In fact, it is the natural scientific and the natural phenomena. Fact is, they are only physically strong. Nowhere it is proven that they are more intelligent than women, or they are more smarter than us. Then why we women get scared of seeing a hall full of men? Just
yes.
You can yeah.
Well, I think that it's more because of the tradition. I don't think we have any reason to feel like we are more weak than than others. And I think also that, they usually say that a man cannot do two things together. And I think the women can do more than two things together. So I think even that we are even more, we have more, how you say that, we are better than the men in doing functions and all those things. So I think it's only something that we have in our mind. It's not something that is really, it's something real. And, I usually remember what they told me in my practice, that the first time you go to the court and you have the judge in front of you, and usually the judge is a man, yeah? don't be afraid, just think that he is naked. And this way, it will be more easy for you, you know. And I think usually that, you know, women, when you are really feel like you're afraid of men, I think that maybe you just think about something very funny about them, and you know, then you will be more you relaxed, and you know, you can talk without any problems. So this is my advice. But there is nothing like, you know, there is nothing that they are better than us. It's only something that it's traditional thing that, you know, women think like that, but I don't think it have any reason.
True, absolutely. It's just a misconception perhaps in all our mind, but there is no such fact in that. Thank you so much, Alona, Tohar. With that, I would like to check if Taslima is in the room. Taslima?
No, she's still having some network problems. Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. Then we are almost done with all the speakers. I would like to check if someone has any questions to our honorable speakers who spoke lovely, gave so much insight about their work, about their personal life. Any questions? You want me to count? 1, 2, 3. Is there any question? You can also put it in the chat room if you want to.
Yes, I have.
Nirusi, can you please?
Naseema, I have a question.
I do have a question, but I believe somebody else has a question. Someone who said it before I did.
Okay.
Yeah. But you can proceed.
Who has questions?
I have some questions.
Yes, sure.
For all our speakers.
Yes, Charmaine, go ahead. Can you hear us?
All right. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Right. Now I want all the speakers to answer this. With the existing laws that we have, do we need more laws, or do we need a new law that will answer some of our global problems today? If there is, please let me know what is that. We can start with Suppiah. Thulasy, yes.
Okay, are more laws needed? I presume you're talking specifically addressing women's rights issues. Yes. I mean, in Malaysia, I would say yes. There's a lot that needs to be done. One example is we've still got a anti-sexual harassment bill that's been stuck in Parliament for the longest time. And if anyone's following Malaysian politics, of course, we're a very small nation. We've recently, just before the pandemic hit us and we went into lockdown, it had a sudden change in government, and so it's been a little we were facing uncertain times politically. So a lot of the legislations which were on the brink of being passed are now, of course, stalled. So the sexual harassment bill, for instance, efforts to put an end to child marriages in Malaysia, for instance. It's not strictly speaking women's rights, but it is girl children's rights, are stalled. So yes, there's a lot of laws that are desperately needed in Malaysia, and I've barely skimmed the surface with the two examples that I've just cited. We do not actually have any legislation as such. Perhaps different private companies have policies to address things like the gender pay wage gap. sexual harassment, but there's no national political will to actually have legislation in place to properly protect women's rights and children's rights in these areas.
Next answer, please. Next speaker.
I think you need to just call their names, because
Shalini, would you like to answer? Alice, Elisa, would you like to answer?
So I think in the UK, we as I mentioned before, we're a developed country. We already have a lot of laws in place to prevent discrimination towards women inside and outside the workplace. I think the problem here is the implementation of law. And again, I think most countries in Europe have adequate protection firstly through the EU law and secondly through domestic law that implements the EU law. One of the issues in the UK, I think, is going to be when we exit the EU, how that affects the laws that have been implemented that have originated from the EU laws. But I think generally in the UK, we have the Equality Act 2010, which was mentioned before, and that codifies the equality enactments in the UK. I think one of the problems that we have here is, again, not just passing the laws, but making sure that actually large corporations start to follow them in a way that affects change down the chain towards women on a sort of daily basis. And when these large organizations do that, it's the smaller companies that follow. So I think that in the UK, we are making a lot of progress, but we need to make sure that the companies that are doing this are not just paying lip service to the law, but that they're actually implementing it on the ground. So a lot of companies have a great deal of marketing and PR and talks and sort of press releases that touch on the topic of women's rights and equal pay and discrimination, but actually when you speak to women on a sort of daily basis, there are still struggles that women have. So I think that do we need more laws? Probably we need to just implement the ones that we have properly, and let's see what happens with Brexit in the EU and if that affects anything.
Answered.
Yes, I would. And I kind of agree with what Alice has said about the UK. In the United States, we have a lot of laws. So the laws are on the books. The only, I think, discrepancy might be is that sometimes state laws can have it's not, like for instance, North Carolina is a right to work state. So sometimes that's a loophole. So I think that when it comes to women's rights laws, sexual harassment, or any kind of law like that, the state shouldn't have autonomy on any level. It should be the federal law that would cover all the states in the union. The biggest thing is implementation of it. And so one of the things I usually will tell people when I'm coaching them, or in a business setting, or even in a relationship, whichever setting it is that they need to implement their rights, to make sure that you document everything. Because I know here in the United States, the fact that people can video and anything that's going on has really helped people a lot to hold the government accountable, and the legal system accountable to the fact that this person was violated in some way, shape, or form. So with us, again, it's not the law. The laws are on the books. There can always be more, because you always find that someone will find a loophole. But again, I think that that's also one of the global things that needs to happen, is that across the board, that globally the laws should be the same when it comes to human rights. In no country should there be a disadvantage or an advantage over another when it comes to those particular areas, because as humans, we are born, you know, with inalienable rights that no one should be able to take away from us.
Thank you.
I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Regina. Anyone would like to add to that? Alona? Chinyere?
Yes, I would like to answer. I think that wait, my video is not working. Okay, so I think in Israel, it's almost the same like in England. And I think we have a lot of laws that give women's rights, but the first thing that, I mean, in Israel, the Declaration of Independence in 1948 was saying that equal rights for all women and men, and no matter which race or religion. So I think that we don't have the problems of laws, but we have the problems of implement the laws and also to enforce them, because there are some groups like ultra-Orthodox Jews or like some groups of Muslim people who live in Israel that sometimes they are breaking the laws or they are taking rights from women and nobody know about it because they're hiding it. So I think that when more and more people from those groups will, you know, share the information about those things that happening, maybe it will be more easy to enforce it or to implement it. This is what I think. We don't need laws, we have to enforce it.
Thank you, Alona. Chinyere, would you like to add anything?
I have a follow-up question for Alona.
Okay, please.
Alona, thank you
Yes.
for your answer. It's a worldwide news. I want to hear your stand on this issue, because it's been a worldwide news that Israel has been making peace with their distant Gulf states like Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates. And some people are telling, doing some news that how about making peace with your closest neighbors, the Palestinians. So what can you say about the stand why you cannot make peace with the Palestinians and then you can make peace with the other Gulf states?
Okay, so I will answer. I think that we really want peace also with our neighbors. And I think also that they need to have their rights and they need to have their state. I think that the two-state solution, it's a good solution, but you know, for tango, you need two. So we can't do anything if the other side is not willing to have peace. I mean, there is a problem there because there are two groups. You have the Judah and Samaria place where Abu Mazen is, you know, ruling there, and you have Gaza that you have Hamas there. And the thing is that, look, we did peace with the United Arab Emirates, and while the Minister of Foreign of the Emirates were talking, we've been attacked by Hamas from Gaza, sending missiles over Israel because they did the peace agreement at the same time. So, you know, it's very problematic. I mean, we accept it, we want to do peace, and it's a real big problem. And I hope that because we did peace agreement with other Arab countries, maybe it will help to make pressure, you know, on them to come and sit and negotiate, because now we don't have any negotiation, nothing. And I really, really hope it will happen.
Maybe we need negotiators to have like an amicable settlement between these war. We really need world peace.
That's true. We need it too. We are really, really tired from all those wars and all the riots and all those things. You know, it will be very good for us to live in quiet and peace for the both sides.
I was born in a war-stricken country as well, in the Philippines. I came from Mindanao, so my neighbors are the Abu Sayyaf terrorists. So I know how to live in a war-stricken society, and I really hope there's peace
in Israel.
I hope that too, for both sides.
Yes. Thank you so much for your answer, Alona. Any questions? Yes, there's another question from our audience. Please.
Hiya. So my name's Thulasy and I'm going to my final year. I'm studying law and I'm thinking about going to the bar. And I've heard that many of the speakers here are advocates or in the legal profession in some way, or are related to people who have been advocates. And so my question is mainly about how you kind of would deal or approach a situation where there is a colleague or there is a male counterpart who feels more entitled or kind of dismisses you. That's just something I've been considering and like just thinking about, because I do think when you enter the legal profession, especially at the junior end, you are somewhat exposed to those kind of treatment or like just those little behaviors to a D. So I was just wondering how you guys would deal with that.
I think I'm probably the most junior person here, so maybe I could answer that question. Thulasy, I think maybe you're based in the UK by your accent.
Yeah.
So I think for me, the main thing is that I actually never really felt any different because I was a woman in the legal profession. And that's probably because the university that I went to and the firm where I trained at really never treated women and men in any different way. So I think the first thing is to kind of try to train your mind to get out of that mentality that you think you are different, because if you look on paper, the work that you can produce and the work that a man can produce is probably the same or better. So I think that's the first step. And secondly, in terms of maybe being sort of intimidated in person, if that was more your question, I think you just have to remember that men and women are quite different personality-wise, and we approach things in a different way, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the way a man may approach something is the correct way. I think it's been proven that women tend to be a bit more risk averse, and actually sometimes in the legal profession that can be a good thing, particularly when you're dealing with clients who are perhaps working on documents or dealing with issues where there's a high level of risk involved. It can sometimes actually pay off to have some more feminine qualities, if you could put it that way. So I think that's the first step, getting out of that sort of mentality and also being around more women who are successful. I've been quite lucky because I've had several bosses and a couple of mentors who have been extremely successful women, particularly in the legal industry. So from that perspective, you learn and absorb that kind of mentality and confidence. And once you get to a place where you feel confident, I think the gender thing kind of stops becoming an issue unless you make it an issue yourself. I've lived in 3 different countries. I've lived in the UK, in the UAE, and I've also lived in India for 2.5 years. So I'm very aware of the cultural differences between men and women in those 3 countries. And again, I just think it's a mentality thing. Just try to remain confident and remember that the work you're producing and the grades you have are probably just as good.
Thanks, Alice.
Thank you, Thulasy and Lisa, for answering that question. We can take one more last question if anyone have further questions. Anyone? All right, in that case, uh, now I would like to hand over back to Sherman, but before that, let me just conclude saying, and this is something I really believe in, a woman is full circle. Within us, within her, the power to create, nurture, and transform. I wish you all the ladies all the very best for your future endeavors. Thank you for giving your precious time, for enlightening us, for empowering us, and giving us hope that whatever way we can do something, whatever we wanted, and we will hopefully with hard work, dedication, we will achieve success and will make our name out there outshine. Thank you. With that, I hand over to Sherman.
Thank you very much, Naseema, for being an amazing host. And I really look forward to seeing you again after the lockdown. And thank you very much to all our speakers, our panelists, for a very amazing evening of sharing your journey, inspiring stories. And I hope that we inspire women who wants to pursue with this kind of profession, and hope we will have an arm or a pillar of support wherein we can support them how to do this job and everything. And we would like to say thank you again for accepting our invitation on behalf of Dr. Caroline Makaka of Luwani and Prodigy Bureau. I would like to invite you soon again for another virtual event, or maybe next year in the Philippines. I would love to have a women panel wherein there will be women in law. And hopefully we will be flying you for free and giving you free accommodation, because we have our very generous sponsor next year, who is our world boxing champion, Manny Pacquiao. If you are familiar, if you know him, so he is our main patron. And without further ado, our page in Facebook and Instagram is Prodigy Bureau and Ladies of All Nations International, Luwani. Please follow us for more updates. And I will be sending to you the recording of this event. And I will be getting your WhatsApp numbers and contact details, so that we will be sharing it with you. I hope our connection will not be stopped here. It will not stop here. And please try to connect to each other and support each other. And thank you so much. God bless and have a lovely evening.
Thank you, Charmaine. Thank you, everyone. It was nice meeting you all.
Please send your contact details, your WhatsApp numbers, please, because we will be sharing it with you. Hopefully, I will see you all in the Philippines next year.
Thank you.
Yes.
I will keep in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Naseema, thank you so much. Love you. Bye.